Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. What is sensorality? Looking to prove a definition, derive a definition, show a direct iteration of syllability, producing sufficient uniqueness. What is a sensor? What is sensorality? So, look at an object, ask yourself, is that object moving? Understand that there's a bunch of little discrete particles whizzing around, protons and electrons, and you say that is movement. And so that is what Albert Einstein did not understand. This has momentum even when it is at rest, because it's actually just moving. And that's really the entire thing. And so in our overall progression throughout history, we have not understood what is energy, potential energy, kinetic energy. In the 1700s, Newton's conceptualization. We've emphasized the importance of individualism, right? Intuition is individualistic. Life is working memory. Some of these more what would be called properly emotional, but not in like the sentimental way, but just the domain of proofing and behaviors that are definitive, that you've not seen proven before. But there's a lot of this impact or this individualism of how relevant that is in terms of overall comprehensivity of articulating fundamental physics. General relativity being how serendipitous the assignment of meaning is to a certain sequence of syllability, letters representing sounds. Why is energy represented by E-N-E-R-G-Y? Well, again, we've properly derived it now, but throughout history, again, we have natural definitions. Energy is energy, work is work, power is power. This overall scientific progression is this refinement of language to have the proper ontology, the right vocabulary to discuss physical systems. So what hasn't been understood the entire time is what is energy. We've derived or understood energy, movement potential from things moving. And so that is this literally pick up an object, you say, is this thing moving? It is. You can literally look at a microscope. You can literally just understand that. It is very intuitive because it is true. And then what Albert Einstein tried to articulate is not a statement of energy, but a statement of momentum. This thing is not really at rest. It has internal and external, was where we are at logically. Just doing a refresher of our conceptualization. And so this system has momentum, right? And now what is internal and what is external? Nothing is touching because of the finite repulsion of the electric charge, which I'm going to use that for now, which we still have some. Is charge electric? Does that really make sense? Is charge dichotomistic? Is charge positive and negative? Some sort of resolution or linguistic incompleteness still there in our current derivation. But the electric charge cannot touch. Nothing is touching. Go look at the Sistine Chapel, but everything is connected, right? My notebook is not independent. It's touching my hand, and I'm touching my chair, and the chair is touching the ground, or the house, which is touching the earth, which is connected to the momentum of the sun in orbit, right? So everything is connected, but nothing is touching. And so we have, what is the relationship of energy and tension? It's just the two logical concepts. Again, emphasizing historically, it's not well known how general relativity is a single individual's conceptualization. You have a certain level of comprehensivity. You also have a certain level of mathematical sophistication. Newton was certainly more conceptually developed. In his time, the overall understanding of physics was better understood in Albert Einstein's time, but neither of which in the overall ontological progression, what is energy, movement potential, was not known. And that is where we're at. And then what Einstein did is again attempt, or his conceptualization, his progress in his understanding of the world around him was a statement of momentum, mass times velocity internally. And then, as we just said, nothing is sequestered. And then historically, we still have, again, thermodynamically, which predates. I'm not looking at any dates here. Just the overall. There's a single conceptual progression throughout history, which again is not well articulated anywhere. But this conceptualization of equilibrium, like the 1800s, right, with the thermodynamics really developing, that is the most ontologically developed and comprehensive section of ontology or portion of history, because again, this entire time of all of language, all anybody can do is scale specificity and generality of it is what it is. And so we have this equilibrium concept from the 1800s, which was much more developed, but just this individual derived concept of movement potential, right? We have the Gibbs free energy, then we have potential energy, and it's just all this, we don't have what is energy, movement potential, which is a logical step. Again, words don't exist anywhere, and you've never interacted with something not moving. And so that is the biggest thing historically, and now we have this linguistic logical element. What is energy to tension, right? If you go walk in the woods and you crouch down, you tense up. It's something you directly say. How does that direct empirical thing relate to movement potential? What is tension to energy? It's kind of like the last step of fundamental physical conceptualization, which is immediately apparent, right? There's tension in the room. Just go look at the natural use of the word tension. But linguistically, it's a direct iteration of sensation, sensorality, which is again, it's a linguistic word form again produced from the previous derivation. And so what is energy to tension? Restating the fundamental theorem of physics, tension centralizes energy. Energy, movement, potential. Tension centralizes movement potential. And directly empirically true. Somebody crouching down, you're centralizing, again, central to your center of mass, I mean, like directly, literally. For human beings, again, right below your belly button, but for an animal, when they're crouching down, you can directly see it for anybody. That is where we introduce tension, which is, I've introduced it as best I can. Again, it's a linguistic element. It's not a well-defined thing. And this is this general relativity conceptually, but then we all have the same environment. We're all bounded in culture. And so this tension dissension iteration is the most, if you guys don't get what energy is, you're not going to get what tension is, and it's a direct iteration of sensation. But it's why you can say I can cut the tension with a knife. Tension is sensation. But fundamentally, physically, it's rigorous definition. Tension centralizes energy. Tension centralizes movement potential. And so now going through our steps, but that is our biggest, and that's like the final physical understanding. But now we're going through our linguistic steps, or again, all of these different steps, which was our another point before we start. With the new steps are again I introduce what's directly on my head, directly in my mind, the most poignant aspects of the proof, and then go through the steps and where we got to them. But like I'm just sitting down, again, I do so much derivation where like why I sit down for a certain amount of derivation to present it like a video is the time to be like a YouTuber, truly, like just like the overall, hey, I've done enough of this derivation where it's like how much flow to this, gives it enough time. So the actual chunks of videos is not like the biggest differentiation. It's the actual steps. Like each independent step is like, I will write something down and I'll put my pen down for like 5 seconds, pick it back up, write like 2 things down, put it back down. And each one of those steps is a bigger jump of discreteness, a bigger separation than when a video ends, right? There's this overall conceptual limitation, but in terms of overall steps, each video has a ton of steps. They're all equally independent. Whether it took 2 weeks to write it down or 2 seconds, it's really no different. So emphasizing that each step is a bigger, independent, unique thing as opposed to each video. But with that being said, going through our steps. What is energy to tension? Is movement potential tense? Is verse tense, right? Is movement potential tense? Just using, you're in a bar, everyone just talking amongst themselves, some smashes a beer can or smashes a glass, and then it renormalizes physically. Everyone's attention is focused on the tension, right? Direct iteration. Is verse tense? That's when we had the fundamental theorem of physics. Tension centralizes energy. What is gravity to energy? What is this attractive? Again, logically relevance, gravity is attraction. Still some openness. What is gravity to energy? What is energy potential to resistance? What is movement potential? Is movement potential attractive? But what I wanted to say here is there's still some, again, within this conceptualization of matter, mass, right? Then we have, what is gravity to matter? What is gravity to mass? Again, it's a direct iteration of viscosity. It is resistance, but it has this attractive component, which is what is gravity to tension. But still wanting to emphasize, what is inertia? Right? What is gravity to inertia? And so just emphasizing all of these steps as we go through them. Sensorality is animated energy. Natural definition, direct iteration. The biggest conceptual thing, again, we are deriving the spelling of sensorality, but the biggest conceptual difference, again, is filtration by an animate object and an inanimate object. And so emphasizing that is kind of like our logical step in this logical differentiation. Again, these are the fundamental physical definitions are just immediately true, but the logical differentiations, you guys can't follow, you just can't follow it. But animation versus inanimacy is our biggest logical dichotomy this whole time. That's what the difference is. And the proof is the spelling of censorship. Sensorality is oralating. Natural definition, direct iteration. Okay. That one's just a direct step. Sensorality is ignorability. Sensorability is ignorability. Now again, ignorality is literally orality with our fundamental syllable ing. Right? Speciality, special with an ity. Sensorality is ignorality, which is orality with an ing. And this rhythm, again, is reducing to a point where we have this fundamental logical out of bounds. Sensorality is still not a word. It's just a chunk of syllables. And so a word form more correctly. What is gravity to tension? Is gravity ignorable? Is gravity algorithmic? Is gravity logarithmic? Is gravity grave? Is gravity gravy? Direct iteration. Is gravy viscous? Direct iteration. Is grave vicious? Again, emphasizing a lot of the natural usage of gravity in the same way. Literally, anytime somebody says the word energy, just think movement potential, and it's immediately true. The natural use of gravity is typically for like grave. This is a serious situation. This has a lot of gravity to it. But then is gravity gravy? That's a good step, but it's again a direct iteration. And then you get this, right? Sensorality is like molasses in January, is the conceptualization that, again, the sensorality is these are all logical renormalizations completely. Sensorality is a sense of ignorance. Does ignorance make sense? Does verse make sense? What is versatility to adversity? What is fractalization to crystallization? Sensorality crystallizes. And again, we live in this, we're directly in this stuff we can prove. This set of things that are true that you can't prove is so immediately bigger. That's what I'm saying. It just feels like crystalline. It's just like no matter how much we derive, we're literally limited by the linguistic structure we have. And we're doing that completely. And we've already done that before. Speciality is still special with an ity. But that feeling of like it's just fractalization, it's just like there's so much information everywhere. What is fractalization to realization? Are boundaries abundant? Sensorality is the boundary of a battery. Natural definition, direct iteration. And again, as we emphasized at the beginning, what is a boundary of the physical systems? Everything's a black body, nothing's touching, everything's connected. What does that, again, rigorously mean of the boundary? This is clearly my notebook can move independent of me sufficiently. A battery stores charge. Storage is dynamic. What is storage to recall? So even again, emphasizing the history of physics, electrodynamics doesn't really feel any different to me than just understanding mechanics, right? Everything is charged. Everything that is neutral is just a balance of charge. All moving charge induces a magnetic field. That is all to me well understood in mechanics. Just emphasizing that historically. Storage is dynamic. Again, we have our DRAM, our random access memory. Now we have our DRAM. What is storage to recall? Again, our most poignant sensorality is an agentic supercycle. I'm going to take Liz Young on my Joby Dividends private helicopter ride soon. Actually, Joey's doing pretty bad, did pretty bad yesterday. Is deodorant obedient? Obedience is the opposite of resistance. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is obscenity to obscurity? Is ignorance logical? What is attention to ignorance? Emphasizing, if your attention is on something, you're not ignoring it. Not ignorance. Ignorance carries a very natural negative connotation in how it's used. Which it is bad, but again, emphasizing this is fundamental physics. So again, where we're at in this general specificity, again, we scale in and out of it on a personal level. Like I said, it's very intuitive. Not just something else to point out. What is acknowledgement to ignorance? Ignorance is unacknowledged. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is knowledge easy? Is knowledge privilege? Direct iteration, again, emphasizing edge easy. What is ignorance to tension? Fundamental theorem of emotion, ignorance causes tension. What is ignorance to arrogance? What is knowledge to arrogance? What is ignorance to confidence? What is confidence to arrogance? Those dichotomies are apparent everywhere. Again, ignorance, genuinely not knowing something. Arrogance, confidently not knowing something. We've said that a bunch. What is knowledge to confidence? Again, it's one and the same, proportional. If you're in the business setting, we like a confident leader. If we're on the battlefield, we like a confident leader. What is confidence? Cool, calm, and collected. And this is, again, these are immediate dichotomies. Moving along. Is confidence confidential? Is fidelity confidential? Is fidelity marital? Is fidelity delicate? Sensuality is marriage material. Natural definition, direct iteration. Obviously, wifey material, but we include all of the genders, marriage material. Interactionality is exchangeability. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is interaction to extraction? Is extraction excavation? Is excavation vacation? Direct iteration. Is vacation cautionary? Direct iteration. Sensuality is cautionality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensuality is precautionary. Natural definition, direct iteration. Sensuality is preliminary. Is prime preliminary? Is prerequisite preliminary? Sensuality is exquisite. Natural definition, direct iteration. Exquisite is a sight. Direct iteration. Sensuality is an exquisite sight. Sensuality resists right. Direct iteration. Sensuality is a garment. Are garments clothes? Porque es clothing ropa? Que es rope a ropa? No, bro, we have false cognates. Rope, ropa is not rope. But why is ropa clothing? What is clothing? Sensuality resists gravity. Sensuality resists attraction. Sensuality attracts resistance. Direct iteration. Is attraction privilege? Oh, she has pretty privilege. Brad has ugly privilege. He gets no girlfriends ever. Sensuality is a head start. Is head easy? Direct iteration. A head start is a lead. Natural definition, direct iteration. Are leaders losers? Is leading easy? Is leading easy? I wrote this, or easing to easy. Emphasizing two different steps. Is leading easing? Is leading easy? Is reading easy? Again, this secret life hack of being illiterate is shit. So then you can't commit libel. You just can't do it. it's a life hack. Sensuality is ready to read. Natural definition, direct iteration. What is reading to seeing? What is seeing to doing? Sensuality is monkey see, monkey do. Sensuality est songe voir, songe fait. Sensorality is singability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Does orality sing? Is singable singular? Direct iteration. Is jugular singular? Direct iteration. You can literally hear like the phonetic. It's hard to like articulate the consonants on these direct iterations of vowels. Sensorality juggles, sensorality jingles. I guess resonances. I'm not even saying vowels anymore. Ing is our fundamental syllable, physically, directly, and a representation. Again, all of language is directly literal. Sensorality is a sing-along. Sensorality sings along. Oh, we're keeping going. Yeah, we got a lot of it. What is the order of equilibrium? What is order to what is odor to equilibrium? Capability is capacity. Capability is potentiality. Sensorality loves tension. What is tension to drama? Is generosity loving? Is generosity moving? Is generosity genuine? Is generosity grandiose? Another kind of random, almost French word. It's another one of those syllability structures where it's like macaroni land, Francoise. Something's happening over here. Sensorality is lovability. Sensorality is the ability to love. Natural definition, direct iteration. Just because it was on a Jeopardy episode recently, Peter Abelard and Eloise has that same, the grandiose Eloise. I think her name had a double dots. But if you want a historical example of simping, Eloise's letters to Peter Abelard are just historically simped. What is lovability to liability? Is love a liability? Is lying loving? Is lovable likable? Sensorality is likability. Natural definition, direct iteration. Previously what I've said, likeness bias. Direct iteration of that conceptualization. Is liability problematic? What is likability to compliability? Is compliance likable? What is compatibility to compliability? Is compliance compassionate? Does compassion resonate? Does reason resonate? Direct iteration. Is finance fancy? Is fancy easy? Is finance easy? It is if you have constitutional rights. Sensorality is fanciful. Sensorality is fateful. Sensorality is hateful. Algorithming is cataloging. Natural definition, direct iteration. Cataloging sorts. Again, this was a direct step, but algorithming is cataloging. It's the same logging, right? Our allegories algorithmic. And then we have the ALGORI in direct order, direct iteration. Categories, catalog. Cataloging sorts. Completeness is categorical. Again, the natural logical use. That is categorical. Sean Carroll's categorically a criminal. He commits crimes in all categories. Categorical is complete. Which he is. Throw him in jail. Is allegory categorical? Tension centralizes energy. Just restating our fundamental theorem of physics. What is centralization to stabilization? Is civilization centralization? Direct iteration. Sensorality centralizes sensation. Natural definition, direct iteration, conceptually complete. What is tension to agility? Right, when that animal's crouching down, when you tense up, what is agility? Right, rapid change of movement, the potential for rapid change of movement. What is agility to energy? But it's one intuitively. If someone says agility, what you feel is what I want you to feel. What is that to tension? Does tension increase agility? Is centralization minimization? Sensorality is mini-me, using that direct M-I-N-I, M-I, and then the English spelling. Sensorality is a mini-me. Is a doppelganger a mini-me? Condensing minimizes. Sensorality is condensing. Is derivation condensation? Is sensation condensation? Direct iteration, we've hit those before. Sensorality minimizes redundancy. Sensorality minimizes rhythm. But now we have, again, we're getting to this, we're hitting some tautology, but we're getting to this tightening up of our whole conceptualization that we can reduce the entire linguistic structure, right? Sensorality minimizes rhythm. What is the minimization of rhythm? Vibration, right? If you try to limit movement, you get a vibration. The natural flow to things to move, to optimize movement, is rhythm. The limit of rhythm is vibration. Fundamental theorem of physics, sensorality is vibration. On a direct sensation, physical, intuitive conceptualization, when anybody thinks the word or says the word vibration, you're saying sensorality. And we just have to find this sufficient differentiation linguistically to stabilize our definition. But sensorality is vibration, fundamental theorem of physics, natural definition, direct iteration. Vibrational information theory. It's much more of this overall iteration paired to this iteration of linguistics paired to this conceptual progress that is independent of one person. Vibration is essential. Vibration is odoration. Natural definition, direct iteration. Vibration is coloration. Sensorality is the coloration of odoration. Sensorality colors odor. What is the color of odor? Direct iteration. What is odor to fumigation? Are fumes odorous? Sensorality is running on fumes. Fumes are exhaust. Proof by linguistic exhaustion. We literally have to run out of, we don't run out of concepts, and we will run out of letters. Is fumigation olfactory? Is olfactory chemical? Fundamental theorem of sociology. Chemistry is synergy. Right? What is chemistry to vibration? Synergy is chemistry. Just the natural usage, hey, they're dating, they have good chemistry. Hey, those two people are at the office, they work together, they have good synergy, they have good chemistry. That's correct. It is what it is. That is true. Is energy chemical? Direct iteration, another emphasis of historical progression, right? Chemical energy. It's like, just nobody knows what energy is. Movement potential. Sensorality is chemicality. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is chemical residual? Is individuality residual? Direct iteration, emphasizing the duality. Is residential residual? Sensorality is residentiality. Definitely hit that before. But again, what is a residence? Typically crops up in, again, like tort, legal discourse. Again, where do you reside? What is your primary residence? Sensorality is a central residence. That's kind of like why. It's just like, again, a lot of language is built around, again, fundamental law, fundamental economy. And it's just like, do you live here? It's like, well, I own the house, but do I like reside here? Is this my primary residence? Is directly the conceptual progress of the things you see on your tax forms. But sensorality is a central residence. Sensorality is a sense of residence. Sensorality is a sense of belonging. Natural definition, direct iteration. Is odor residual? Is respect residual? Is residual mutual? Obviously, is respect mutual? Which obviously nobody has respect for the law. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the United States Constitution remains violated. Same with the Fifth Amendment, same with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the First Amendment. But we had to prove the context of what is consensus. To say what is free speech, historically, the ability to speak freely against consensus, which is a math proof. So it's just true. It is what it is the form of all language. And we're just refining a bunch of letters to say what is a censor, to demonstrate all of the analytical tools that could exist for analysis, which we've already done. but my life continues to be taken from me. It is July 3rd. We're going to celebrate the 4th of July, 250 years of no taxation without representation, and I have zero constitutional rights. So obviously that's as historically disgraceful as possible, and I continue to emphasize none of my research, none of my work, none of my property that is currently fraudulently devalued is ever allowed to be distributed amongst this shithole jurisdiction. But I continue to beg for a little bit of money and to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. That is not a joke, an exaggeration in any way. I cannot walk into a grocery store and buy food comfortably. I cannot support myself in the most basic necessities of life. And remember, demand is need. I demand my needs. I need my demands. I need to live. I want to live, and I need like stuff to like live. And can I have my property to buy the stuff I need to do the living, the thing? But the answer to that remains to be no, profoundly and historically disgraceful. Obviously, and again, this connection of energy to tension is the final thing. And so we have this logical, again, direct iteration, tension, incension. But really this relationship, agility, again, that was in real-time derivation. What is agility? Again, then to me that's the word rapid change of movement potential. So that's where it's at now. But again, obviously the present and clear value of what we've derived and proven up until this point, because if you're watching this derivation and didn't do speciality, remember we have still derived all of this. There was only so much linguistic structure, and we're just doing another mathematical proof, which you guys have no idea what mathematics is. So proof is proof, it encapsulates everything, but it's like a balsamic reduction, but it's a linguistic reduction. Actually, literally. And in the physics, the actual literal things is the things that don't reduce because of the conservation of charge. But that is what I have for now. I'm laughing, I'm not joking. Why can't somebody give me a little bit of money? It's profoundly disgusting. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.